Today, chapter 45 is a special one. Why are your flaws your real superpower? Most of people want to achieve perfection before they're going to do something. And this chapter will remind us that you don't need to be perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect life. Let me explain. So the Tao Te Ching is the ultimate reframing of the so-called perfection. It teaches you that the greatest achievements look unfinished, the greatest fullness looks empty, and the greatest skill looks clumsy. So it's about the power of imperfection and stillness. It's very important, these two words. Let me explain. So Lao Tzu basically is attacking your ego's obsession with so-called flawlessness. He argues that something perfectly finished has nowhere left to go. It's basically dead. Conclusion. But something that seems so-called incomplete or broken is actually alive and functional because it has space to adapt. So the chapter basically ends by noting that while movement overcomes cold, stillness overcomes heat. In our so-called heated modern lives, the most powerful thing you can do is basically staying cool and quiet. Alright, how to apply this chapter 45 in real life? Let's say in a corporate sense. We call that so-called agile and being humble, right? So what is the trap here is, let's say for example a CEO insists on a perfect product. Once you have to wait until the product is so-called perfect, then you want to launch it, right? So basically with 0 bugs and rigid 5-year plan. So they refuse to admit mistakes because it looks so-called weak. What is the Taoist solution here? Great skill seems clumsy. So the most successful companies today use the so-called beta mindset. What is a beta mindset? It's called the MVP, minimum viable product. So they release something so-called incomplete. They stay humble and adapt based on their feedback of their customers. By appearing so-called imperfect, they remain flexible. So a leader who admits they don't have all the answers, so-called empty, actually invites the best ideas from their team. So how to manage basically high pressure meetings? When a room is heated, so a lot of arguments, a lot of ideas, right? With ego and shouting, the person who remains still and quiet usually ends up in controlling the outcome. Why is that? Because their calm overcomes the heat of the situation, making them the most influential person in the room without saying a word. So basically, it's that you observe what other people are saying and you take note. That's why it's so powerful to stay quiet and let the other people talk. So one of the examples we can see in the corporation is basically you can see the models of every kind of car, for example, right? They have a car model, whatever, like Tesla, call it Tesla 1.0, and then after next year they come up with Tesla 2.0, etc., etc. And the same thing goes with software, like Microsoft, right? They come up with this kind of package, as you can see, and next year they come up with in later seconds, etc., etc. And this is the way to do the stuff. You don't wait until the so-called product is perfect and then you launch it, because there's no such things as perfection, and it will take you decades if you want to have perfect. So that's why this Tao teach you there is no perfect. It's only the flaw of life. Okay? So how to apply this in a personal life? Well, there's so-called social media trap as well. Nowadays you can see we burn out trying to have a perfect body for the summer that's coming. So the perfect home or the perfect relationship. And especially the perfect relationship, people are waiting until they find the best partner that suits them. And that is a shame. I have a recent friend as well. And then he keeps saying, yeah, I just broke up again with a girlfriend, and because she doesn't XYZ fulfill his needs. And I said to himself, look, you've been with a girl for how long, you know? And look, you're destroying her life also. Because you are still waiting for the perfect girl. And you're almost 40. So don't waste your time, and don't waste her time as well. So there is no such thing as a perfect partner. Anyway, the Taoist solution in this case, having so-called the greatest fullness, seems empty. What does it mean? True fulfillment doesn't come from a full schedule or a house full of trophies. It comes from having an inner space, basically emptiness, to actually enjoy your life, right? So if your life is perfectly packed, there is no room for spontaneous joy. So meaning that people that are always trying to achieve something in life is basically ending up having nothing in life. They think the house has to be perfect as well. You know, I have to have a perfect chair that fits the table, that fits the bed, that fits the curtain, that fits... It's all BS. And that's why people live the life full of empty eventually. Or people think, okay, I need to have this perfect, you know, what we see in the movies, that everything, a good neighbor. Well, a perfect house doesn't exist, man. Sometimes there will be neighbors that you disagree. So you have to live with it, right? That's what I like about the saying that is about live and let live. Because there's no such things as well as a perfect house where you live. Relationship conflict, instead of trying to be a perfect partner, which some of the partners expect the other partner to be, who never makes a mistake, be a partner who is greatly straight but seems twisted. What does it mean? So it means that being honest about your quirks, your feelings, your flaws. Okay? Don't hold back your feelings. The best person you ever will know about your flaws are your direct partner, or your wife or your husband, right? So that's why you have to talk to them, because they know everything. They know what's in your closet. So this vulnerability creates a functional bond between you and your partner. And that is very much needed than this so-called fake perfect one. So all in all, this is a great chapter 45. Stop trying so hard to look impressive, to look perfect. The most effective people are those who aren't afraid to look a little clumsy or unfinished, because they are too busy being effective and staying calm. Wow, that sums it all. Alright, let's go to the next chapter. Thank you so much. Bye.